Thank you, Chairman. Can I ask Mr. Manning two questions, really? One, I think you suggested we should find out when the United States started waterboarding. Did I understand you to say that, in fact, that information was given to you by the US Embassy in Tashkent that they had started? And the second question, really, is you have said that Sir Michael Wood had lots of legal advisors, and when you referred to the legal advice of Sir Michael Wood, it wasn't necessarily him. Are you able to be specific to the committee on the record as to who was present at the meetings when you were told that it had become acceptable to receive intelligence obtained from torture? Can you say specifically with whom you were discussing this?
Yes. On the first point, I would say I wasn't suggesting you find out when the US started waterboarding, because I think we more or less know that. I'm suggesting you find out when the UK first knew the CIA was waterboarding, and what the steps the UK then took regarding receipt of intelligence from that waterboarding. On the second point, what I was saying with Michael Wood, it was Michael Wood himself. I was merely saying that he has a lot of people under him, but nobody above him. There was no one higher to whom I could go. But Michael Wood was himself present at the meeting, giving this advice. And the other people present were Linda Duffield, who was the director for wider Europe of the Foreign Office, who specifically said she'd been asked to hold the meeting by Jack Straw and by Sir Michael Jay. And a chap called Matthew Kidd, who was the head of the liaison of Permanent Undersecretary's Department, which is the liaison department between the FCO and MI6.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
So, one question I would further like to ask on this was the allegations that you make that there has been a distinct and definitive policy change means, in my view, that once they've said, yes, you may accept evidence obtained under torture, that is, to me, complicit. To me, it is actually encouraging it, I'm afraid. So what I would like you to tell me is, other than your memory of what Lady Thatcher said, have you got documentary or other evidence that this was definitely the policy, which is what I hope it should be, so that you can see that the change has been real, substantial and established? Because if that goes, this is an extremely serious allegation to make against the government. Do you see what I'm getting at, and why I'm getting at it?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry to say that I don't have any documentary evidence to support my memory of that occasion. I would suggest you ask Lady Thatcher. I'm quite sure she'd be prepared to confirm.
I think she's quite old now, I'm afraid.
Chairman, just following Lord Onslow's point on that, you a number of times referred to the fact that that policy was contained in standard Foreign Office briefing. I mean, presumably something must have been circulated amongst the Foreign Office and their ambassadors as to what our policy is on human rights, or what our policy was on human rights. So was it contained in that?
Yeah, I'm quite sure it was in training materials, in particular human rights training courses, on which you probably. I volunteered to go on one. I think probably most ambassadors have been on human rights training courses, and I'm quite certain that this was. This would be contained in the training materials.
So what would contained in the training materials would be the correct policy from your point of view.
Yes.
The issue is, you've got on the one hand the policy as expressed in all the paperwork, on the other hand something rather different going on underneath.
I think that's I think that's true, and I think the
so if we were to ask for the FCO training manuals now, we'd find them squeaky clean.
Probably, yes.
Can I just ask, were we grateful to the Americans for the intelligence we received? Or did we just say, oh, fine?
I think the intelligence I was seeing in Uzbekistan in particular was not of any use to us that I could see.
Let me rephrase the question. What I meant was, did we express gratitude to the Americans for sharing it with us?
I'm sure we...
Either out of politeness or out of self-interest, because you report that Linda Duffield told you that Jack Straw discussed the question with Sir Richard Dearlove, and the worry was that the UK-US intelligence sharing agreement stipulated that all intelligence must be shared. Influential figures in the US believed this was unfair in the sense of one-sided, because they sent us more than we sent them. It was therefore not in our interest to abandon the universality principle. What I'm trying to get at is it the case that because we wanted to keep that arrangement, we were, oh yes, thank you very much, we do appreciate this, please don't abrogate this agreement type stuff, indicating value or gratitude for the intelligence?
I think that...
When you say anything on that, you may not be able to.
Yeah. What I can say is that I've no doubt from my 20 years in the Foreign Office that the UK-US intelligence sharing agreement is extremely highly prized by the people on the security strategy side in the Foreign Office, and the abrogation of which in any form would be to them unthinkable, largely because they tend to have a rather narrow view of the world. But it's certainly something which very much influences people's...
Because the point is that if we'd have said thank you very much, that is more likely in a argument we can have about what represents encouragement than just being a passive recipient. And whether we were grateful because of what it contained, or we expressed our gratitude because we were just pleased to be in that receiving relationship, is irrelevant if the sender of it thinks you're genuinely grateful that you're being sent this material.
It's worse than that, in fact, because there was direct liaison between MI6 and the Uzbek Secret Service. MI6, about once a year, would send somebody out to meet the Uzbek intelligence agencies. And definitely gratitude was expressed for the intelligence material passed to the intelligence.
To the Uzbeks, direct from MI6?
To the Uzbeks, but there was an annual visit, basically.
And were you present at any of those meetings?
I didn't go to the meetings. No.
So it was an MI6 operative meeting some spook from Uzbekistan,
Yeah.
and he passed over a bottle of whiskey and say thank you very much, and whatever. But you were not present at any of those?
I wasn't present. I mean, I met the MI6 operative. He stayed with us in the embassy, and I see him off to his meeting, but I didn't actually go.
So that is a direct link between MI6 and the Uzbek security services, which we didn't know about before.
Yes, I actually, we only had, while I was ambassador, it had been going on annually. I actually stopped it for all the reasons.
So you stopped it by what? Saying to MI6 no longer welcome?
Yeah.
Or you've got to find a grotty hotel yourself? Or
no, I was saying we should stop this. It's not good. No longer welcome.
But the point is that what you're saying is, even though you weren't there, is that you are confident from meeting this chap that he would have expressed thanks. I mean, I want you to use your own words for intelligence material that had emanated from Uzbekistan, even via the US. I mean, I want you to be careful, because it's a serious point. No. If you're making that point, it does go to complicity more than being a passive recipient, which is what the government have us believe they are.
I have no doubt that MI6 told the Uzbek government that we valued their intelligence cooperation and the material which was passed on. I have no doubt about that.